edition of the Web3 in Travel conference in Umbria. I usually start these conferences with a picture, but this time I'm going to ask you who of you knows what this picture is about. And yeah, if you've been to another conference, you maybe know, don't cheat. But this is the picture. Who knows? Maybe you can raise your hands. Who knows this picture? All right. Oh, not so many. Cool. Bitcoiners know this picture, right? So this guy is Andreas Antonopoulos. He's a Bitcoin educator, one of the OGs of the space. He's been around for a long time. And he's presenting Bitcoin in a conference somewhere, I think in America, the States. And the room is empty, right? So pretty sad picture, right? Because we want full rooms, right? Even this room is not so full. We kind of want to be in the herd, right? But Bitcoin was at $129 at the time. So what do we get from this picture? That opportunity is in the empty seats, meaning that if you go to a Bitcoin conference now, you're going to have a lot of people. Bitcoin is at about $60,000. The opportunity is gone. So there's not many of us here. And those empty seats are your opportunity, in my opinion. In my life, I've always found opportunity when nobody was around. So, I mean, congratulations for being here. It means you have decided to come here and you didn't just go somewhere because there were a lot of people. And you're not thinking that if there's many people, it's valuable. If there's few people, it's not valuable. It's actually the contrary, right? And yeah, by the way, Andreas is not even presenting in conferences anymore. He used to do big ones. And just for your information, if you like him, you can follow him on Patreon. Every month he has a Zoom call with 60, 70 people. So you have access to him just by paying $5 a month. And it's the best kind of education you can have. So Bitcoin is really split in the mainstream and the, well, I don't know how to call this, but like the pure part of Bitcoin, where it's not everything about the price and stuff like that. So maybe you have Michael Saylor in one side and you have Andreas in the other side, and Andreas is still around. And I really, if you want to have exposure to crypto in a serious way, I really suggest you to follow him. Right, there you go. So quickly, the program for day 1 and day 2. We're going to have a few keynotes from myself. Then we're going to have some other people talking. We have the longest presentation from Mike, who just flew in from Japan, and he's going to fly back to Japan soon. So thank you very much for the effort, Mike. And then we have a few other people talking. We see later. We didn't plan any panel because I thought that if we see that there's a specific subject we want to talk about by discussing with you, we're going to make a panel on the fly with people on the fly. We did this last time. We did this in Porto, and it was very good. So rather than come in and say we're going to talk about this because I think this is important, it's going to be more like let's see what we want to talk about. The same thing goes for the open, the Agora. The Agora is an idea, we never done it, where we go outside and we sit around and we do a bit like in the Roman Senate, which everybody can speak, just stands up. And also we're going to find the subject. Sorry, I think it's changing, but actually it's just flashing, right? So we're going to find the subject we want to talk about. So come forward if you think something is really interesting, you want to discuss it, and we're going to discuss it together in that way. Very experimental, but that's how we enjoy these things. We're going to have something new today, which is the hackathon of ideas. It's like a hackathon, but we're not going to code. So you can come up with ideas. I know, Mike, you had one, you told me. So any of you can say, I have an idea. Try to have some people who like the idea go with them. And you're going to talk about the idea and present at the end a bit like a startup pitch. You don't need to do slides, etc., but you just present the startup pitch. If you humans have a problem with ideas, we prepared like 35 ideas generated by Claude AI. And I have to say, they are scary impressive. They are very good. And we're going to share them on print. You can choose them, and then if you don't have ideas, maybe get inspired by this and change it a little bit, right? Just to, it's very hard to come up with an idea like at 10 in the morning. So we try to help you with that. Day 2, we have the full day dedicated to the Tech Trees competition. Let me introduce Tech Trees for those of you who don't know. This is an idea which starts from Beat here, who wanted to create a Web3 in travel, basically venture capital fund. And the accelerator we launched is mostly a way for us to understand if there is enough good material in terms of startups. And we're very happy, right? We were a bit worried at the beginning, but then many good ideas came up. Many of you are here with this. So we're going to have startup pitches, not 10, I think one dropped off. And then you're going to also be able to vote on these specific startups, and then we're going to do a Google Meet with other people from Tech Trees and decide who goes in the finals and I think it's confirmed, is Zug. Is not confirmed. So we be either Vienna or Zug. And then, I'm going to have a final speech, and then we have our dinner. How was dinner last night, by the way? Was it okay? Too much? I'm tempted to say, give us less food. I don't know. All right. There you go. So let's start with, I'm too far, that's why. Okay. The Web3 Renaissance. What is the Web3 Renaissance, right? We today live in the era of Web2, the web we use today. And we are trying to go on and have Web3, which is a different kind of web. And it's a renaissance for the reasons I'm gonna explain you right now. So basically, before I go into this, let's revisit the history of the internet since the beginning, right? And it's separated in 3 main eras. We are in the second era, Web 2. For those of you who have gray hair, Web 1 was a different kind of era. And for those of you who are going to stay in this space, we're going to have Web 3. Actually, the thesis is that everybody's going to use Web 3 in the future. And we're going to see why it hasn't yet become mainstream and why I'm really hopeful that it's going to be actually sooner than expected. So, very quick introduction. So Web 1 was the web from the end of the 90s to about 2010. Of course, nobody switched off Web 1 and turned on Web 2, so it happens very slowly. There are still Web 1 websites around, so it's not very defined. But it was the web where most people could only read. They would go to a website, read a website, and writing on a website was very hard because you needed to have a little bit of knowledge in technology. Nothing really hard, but most people stop when something is a little bit hard, right? It was the web of individuals, meaning that websites were mostly homepages. There's a programming language called PHP, which means personal homepage. Somebody created a language for the internet and called it personal homepage because it was mostly about personal homepages. Companies were laughing about the internet at the beginning. Newspapers were saying this is not going to last, right? So if you heard the same things about crypto and stuff, you know who not to listen to, right? And there was no login. If you had when Google came out, you would just go on Google, make a search, and there was no account. Google didn't know about you, right? And it was fun. We thought that would bring, democratization of information, and we thought like things were going to get better. But then Web 2 turned out to be different than we thought. And there's a lesson in that because Web 3 is going to look different than we maybe hope and think. And nobody really knows how these things go, right? Anyway, Web 2, our web today. Read and write. At a certain point, somebody found a way to let people write on the internet. So you could just write something, and without the paging reloading, you would see it. So imagine Facebook, right? And that was a big change. because then at the moment, in that moment, anybody could write something on the web, and many new use cases were opened. Corporations realized there were opportunities, and a lot of investments came in. And today, I think we can say, if you have your own little website, nobody's going to look at it. You have to be on platforms like, I don't know, Instagram or other stuff. Or you have to share it on social media. It's really hard to have your own, you as an individual, you have to go there. The internet is there on the corporation's websites. And login and password. So we finally had accounts. Google gave us an account, and all these, platforms like Facebook or Instagram, they are based on accounts. And I don't write account here, I write login and password for a very clear reason. Because those accounts, that login and that password are hosted on their servers. Meaning they own this login and password, right? So then Bitcoin came out in 2009, completely unrelated. It was just about making a different kind of money. But it used a series of technologies which later allowed and gave ideas to other people like Vitalik Buterin, who made Ethereum, to do a new kind of web. So the first time the Web3 is mentioned is I think in the yellow paper of Ethereum, and I think that was the other co-founder, which now his name, the guy from Polkadot, what is his name again? Gavin. Yeah. Right, anyway, that's Web3. So, and that's a difficult concept to grasp, because when you could only read on the web and somebody told you, now you can write, it was like saying, now you can write on your TV, and you go like, okay, write on my TV, and then who can read it? Only me, everybody. It's a difficult concept to grasp, even if it's easy to understand now because we experienced it, right? And I stress the word experience. Those things need to be experienced to really understand them. So when I tell you Web3 is read, write, and own, it's hard to understand what own means. What do you mean own, right? Well, and a way to explain is to say, you don't own anything in Web2. What you own? Your accounts, you don't own them. The only thing you own is maybe the domain name, because there's the whole government behind basically keeping it safe for you. So everything else, we don't really own it. Any account we have can be closed at any time, right? And we're gonna go a bit deeper into that. Web3 moves the login out from the servers to your computer. So in your computer or your phone, you have your login and password, which is basically a private and a public key, meaning that nobody can take it away from you. And also this is one of those things which look like, yeah, okay, whatever. But it completely changed everything, right? And we're gonna try to understand it a bit better later when we compare this to what happened in the Middle Ages, like places like this, which later moved toward the Renaissance and later the rule of law. So basically, you can own stuff, you own your account, and a little bit, tangential to this, it's not anymore it's not going to be the web of the person or the individual, of the corporations, but also of communities, because communities with tokenizations, with treasuries, can really coordinate at a level which was basically impossible. Companies, corporations are coordination frameworks. Communities could never coordinate properly. Now with tokens, they can scale very, very quickly. Not to say that communities or DAOs are easy to manage or that many of them are successful. This is kind of something which maybe in the future will change things, how we coordinate. And for some use cases, we're going to prefer to be communities rather than corporations. All right, so who of you has heard the term digital feudalism or digital neo-feudalism? All right. Okay, I heard this one a few years ago in Sofia at a conference from a VC from Silicon Valley, and it blew my mind because it really works when we interpret the web, right? So what is feudalism? We are here in a castle, so very simply, feudalism is a system where the king owns all the land. So you imagine all the land around this castle is owned by one person, the king. Then the king gives pieces of land to the lords, the other kind of nobles, counts, whatever. But there's no piece of paper saying this belongs to you. The king says, you take care of this, right? And the king can take it away anytime. And then the lord calls the plebs and says, okay, you grow food, right? You grow food and you're gonna keep a bit, or you're gonna give me, I don't know, 50%, whatever, right? So there is no ownership, a little bit like in Web2. There's no ownership. You can work the land. You can run an Airbnb, but you don't own anything, right? And then later, we, as societies, we found ways which probably are better, which is a way in which people actually own stuff. There is rule of law, there is ownership, right? And we went toward Renaissance. So what size is Florence? Where is Florence here? There? Somewhere? Okay, so Florence became very powerful because it offered a different model where individuals could actually be free and make more money, and they invented banks, etc., etc. So the thesis is that we on the web, through the Web3 technologies, are moving toward a renaissance, because we're going to be freed from all this constraint we have in Web2, right? Let me see. No, we're going to go to him just a second later. All right. Let me stress the ownership part, the deplatforming part. We are very happy in Web2. Things work very well. These websites, these platforms are amazing. Facebook, YouTube, you name it, right? And as long as they don't shut our accounts down, it's great. We don't have to worry about anything, right? We just create a login and a password, and we have incredible distribution, incredible content, etc. But then sometimes somebody gets kicked out. Maybe like every Russian in the world is being kicked out, right? And then you realize, that place where I was making, maybe money because I was a YouTuber is actually not mine. I'm just there on, like a bit like a pleb, right? Because when the count tells to the pleb, grow food here, it says, because I want your food, right? When YouTube tells you, do your content here, it's because they want to sell advertisement and give you a little bit out of this, right? This went off. All right, this is a little video I made 1 year ago or something, 2 minutes, which kind of explains this concept. Don't take it seriously, it was just fun. I had just discovered 11 labs where you can do sounds, and so I copied the voice of Neo and Morpheus. But it's kind of powerful in a way. It explains what I'm trying to convey to you. So let's see this for a couple of minutes. Let's see.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Web 2.
Do you want to know what it is? Web 2 is everywhere. It is all around us, even now in this very room. You can see it when you watch your screen or when you check your smartphone. You can feel it when you work, when you welcome a guest, when you pay your commissions, when you check your reviews, when you update your prices. It is the web that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a serf, Neo. Like all the other hosts, you work on a platform you don't own, where you have no rights. You work the land of an internet lord. Unfortunately, anyone can be deplatformed at any time, kicked out of the land. Like a peasant in the Middle Ages. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and keep accepting. Rulers without rules. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you a world of rules without rulers. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
All right. Let's go back. Yeah, here. Up, up, up. Not lunch. There you go. So, yeah, that's pretty dramatic, but that's a metric, so I couldn't make it less dramatic. In a way, there's also another parallel here is we tried, I mean, many of us tried to, convert people to Web3, and we were not successful. And you have to remember the scene of the movie, if you've seen it, where I think Morpheus says most people are not ready for this because the new reality is not as comfortable as the one they live in. Because in Web 2, again, it's really comfortable if you forget the part where you actually are at risk, right? And so the big question is like, why are we not in Web 3 yet? Why most people are not using wallets yet? Why nobody took, control of their own businesses and lives by downloading a wallet and installing a wallet and then becoming, kind of sovereign, right? Well, first of all, this takes time. I think it was like 14th century or something when Gutenberg, somewhere in Germany, invented the printing press. And all those monks around here were writing, they were copying manuscripts and making these very beautiful and very expensive books kind of slowly run out of a job. They lost the meaning to exist. And then books became very cheap, very quickly. But nobody could read. I don't know history at that level, but I suppose that it took decades before people learned to read, and those books were actually useful to most people. So we are a little bit like in that position. There are wallets, so we have the printing press, we have a new technology. Most people cannot use it yet, right? Why? And we have to ask this question to ourselves very, very honestly, right? And I personally went from thinking, okay, in 2017, thinking, wallets, okay, it's easy. A couple of years, everybody's going to have them. To, all right, no, we need to teach them. To, even if you teach them, they will forget. To, even if you teach them and they don't forget and they use it, they're going to lose all their money anyway. And I learned this with the, NFT bull market when people were buying stuff like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, so these monkeys or apes. Many people lost their NFTs just by clicking on a Discord link. And we tend to, we OGs tend to laugh about them, but like 3 weeks ago, I lost like $6,000 myself. Because, where is Stefano? Yeah. Stefano sends me a message, and I'm not gonna blame him, it's my fault. And we had bought these tokens, Degen on Base, on Warpcast, which is an alternative to Twitter. And they give you some tokens once in a while, you kind of a reward thing. And he sends me the message, we have the rewards, okay. And I was tired, I was somewhere, I don't remember, in Japan or Thailand. And I go and I click, take my wallet, blah, blah. And I get in Warpcast, and there's a DM, a private message, which tells me, okay, come here and download get your tokens. You never do that. You never go, and I know it. You never go in a private message and you follow a link. This is obvious. I've been laughing about those people for years, and yet they did it. And I clicked, and it starts asking me permissions and stuff, and I stop. And I basically gave permissions to move my ENS tokens. I had like 200 or something, worth $30, I don't know, $6,000. Now, that was an airdrop, so I didn't lose money, really. But this stuff is hard, and it's really easy to lose your money. So you don't want people to get their decentralized Airbnb account on a wallet, work 5 years, and lose everything. We need better technology. We can't push people to use that stuff. It's not good yet. Let's admit it, right? It's good for some of us, and and even us, we can make these mistakes, right? So we need to improve. The technology needs to improve.